In my review of the Wingo 3-pack that I did a few days ago, I talked about how the Mini Racers line loves making fans wait to complete groups. We receive one member of the Tuners every year. We received Rusty and Dusty a year apart. And we've basically just been receiving one World Grand Prix racer a year since 2020, leaving us with still several more that we have to get. So I wouldn't be surprised if many fans were shocked to see that they decided to release all of the cars for the GRC at once across 3 3-packs with 3 new cars in each, all in the same wave. It's really a pleasant surprise, but it isn't unprecedented for the Mini Racers. The Mini Racers have a long history of covering expanded universe lines in their lines, and especially in their 3-packs. And, well, you can't really do a GRC 3-pack with 1 GRC car and 2 regular racers, right? So typically when we get expanded universe packs, they decide to put 3 new releases in them. We saw that with the Rust-eze wraps, the Dynaco wraps, the Racing Reds, as well as the XRS 3-packs, and it's super cool to see this again with the GRC line. But probably my favorite thing about getting GRC Mini Racers, it means that we get the molds for World Grand Prix racers we've never gotten in Mini Racer form before. Max Schnell and Miguel Camino are making their debut to the Mini Racers line thanks to the GRC, and hopefully this will jumpstart the making of regular World Grand Prix variants for the 2 of them. Fingers crossed. Of course, Mattel is doing a big push for the GRC this year and even into next year, so it's kind of nice that the GRC basically forced them to make some of the World Grand Prix racers they hadn't before, and now they have those molds that they can hopefully use for the regular variants. Anyway guys, welcome back to yet another review. Today we're going to be taking a look at another of the GRC Mini Racer 3-packs. I believe this is technically pack number 3. They're all numbered GRC Racers pack 1, 2, and 3. I'm pretty sure this one is number 3. I assume pack number 1 is the one we took a look at the other day with McQueen and Francesco, of course. And listings for 2025 have confirmed that pack 2 is coming back for 2025, and pack 2 is the one that includes Jackson Storm. So that leaves this pack with being pack number 3, and it includes, of course, Max Schnell, Raoul, Çaroule, and Cruz Ramirez. 3 super cool releases. I do not have the 155 scale diecasts for any of these guys just yet, so this will be my first experience taking a look at GRC variants for these characters, and also our first ever Max Schnell mini, which is something super exciting to me. Of course, you can see all 3 of them on the back there, but let's not waste any more time and let's open these guys up. I'm not really sure which of these to review first. Typically I know I'm going to start off with the re-releases and then get to the new release. But since all 3 of these are new releases, let's see. I guess I'll start off with Cruz. I have quite a bit to say about GRC Cruz. I've seen a pretty mixed reaction to her. A lot of people really like her, but I've also seen a lot of people not be too fond of her. First off, I want to say it's absolutely so cool that Cruz and Jackson are a part of this line. Having the Cars 3 racers be in a race against the World Grand Prix racers is just such a cool crossover. And I love the fact that in a post-Cars 3 world, the Cars 3 racers are now, invited to join these TROC style events. But easily my favorite thing about Cruz's design is how she really matches McQueen, adding a black hood and making a black color scheme pretty prominent throughout, just like it is with the McQueen. Really, the hood is the most similar element, and I just think that's some pretty cool continuity between teacher and student, right? But Cruz, of course, has her very own unique identity with the GRC, and that's one of the things I love the most about the GRC line. Each of these cars take these same concepts, but do it in their own unique ways. They all have the GRC logos, they all have the hexagons, but they each are interpreted in their own unique way that makes them all stand out. A lot of the World Grand Prix racers are super cool, updated, modernized designs based on their originals that take them up to brand new heights and brand new places in terms of design, but they all have those unifying logos and hexagon patterns. I really like the freedom here. It's not like past TROC lines where, oh, they all have to have a color on them, right? They all have to have that light blue for the ice racers. They all have to have the neon pattern or the silver pattern or whatever. No, And while usually that is sort of the gimmick for the GRC lines, and I have no problem with that, it's really cool to see one where the design philosophy is basically, hey, take these colors and give them a really sick new paint job, and we'll have them all race against each other. Sometimes it can make it feel like they don't really match, like these two don't really look like they're in the same race other than the logo and the very subtle hexagon patterns. But still, I really like that they decided to focus on each of these cars' individual designs and identities and update them and modernize them. And I also really like that Cruz kind of matches McQueen there. GRC logo on her hood there. I noticed these two lines immediately and thought it was a misprint, but nope, that's just her hexagon pattern carrying over. It is very, very subtle, but, you know, shout out the Mini Racers line for doing the hexagons. It looks surprisingly good for such a small scale, honestly. Moving on to the side, I absolutely love the side of this Cruz. I'm not the biggest fan of the black hood here. I think it's kind of distracting. I like that it matches McQueen, but I don't know, not the biggest fan of it. But I do absolutely love the side here. It is quite crowded and busy, but like all the GRC cars, it doesn't feel over-complicated or over-designed in my opinion. I think Cruz here is the one that comes closest to having an over-design issue because there is a lot going on the side, but I think it really is just enough. We've got a GRC logo here with this whole black stripe, which becomes the Dinoco dinosaur, which is such a cool touch. I love that they still incorporated that. And she also has some blue here, and you can see the hexagon pattern with the blue. That not only goes along well with the black, white, and blue color scheme of the GRC, but it also goes well with Cruz because Cruz is usually painted yellow and blue. We've got the GRC 51 logo there, as well as a giant 51 on the roof. Replacing a lot of Cruz's blue designs with black honestly looks so sick. It looks really, really, really cool. We've got a really nice looking GRC logo there on the spoiler with those nice blue accents as well. Global Racers Cup number 51. Look at that. That looks so, so cool. I absolutely love how far this line goes with its designs. A lot of Cruzes and a lot of Jackson Storms especially that we've gotten in expanded universe lines really don't change all that much about the characters. I love that the GRC really goes above and beyond with making them look different. Even if you're not a big fan of this Cruz, which I know some people aren't the biggest fan of it, you gotta admit they tried something very, very different with her design, but I think it still works pretty well. I think my hood is the least favorite part of that, other than the fact that it looks like McQueen. But yeah, absolutely love the sides there. A lot going on, but it looks really, really neat. Moving on to Raoul here. He, of course, is the character that the GRC gets its namesake from. He's got a GRC logo on his hood in all of his regular variants. That references the, I believe, Grand Rally Championship. Of course, the GRC in this line is a different GRC, but it was definitely inspired by that logo on him, which is just a really cool bit of continuity, even if it does cause kind of a continuity error. Raoul here really falls into that category of take a pre-existing design and just completely overhaul it. And I just think that is so, so cool. He is completely different from the original Raoul, but you can still tell what character it's supposed to be. He's absolutely full of these red and white patterns and designs and stripes on him. We have that very, very subtle hexagon pattern, most notable on his hood there. He's got a really nice expression, these really cool bright white tires there. We have a series of secondary sponsors, which is really cool. Ravioli, Petrola, and a few others I unfortunately can't make out. We'll have to see when I get the 155 scale Raoul. This one is just so, so cool. I think one of the coolest things about the GRC cars is that at first glance, they don't look all that special, but as soon as you just look a little closer, they're all so unique, and the amount of care and design put in every single one of them is just so great. Like, look at regular Raoul. Look at the side here. From a distance, you might think, oh, they're the same. But if you look closely, no, he's completely overhauled with these new geometric stripe patterns, and there are all these stray stripes on him in different places that pop up here and there. We've got the hexagons. This is such a cool reinvention of Raoul. Easily one of the coolest designs in the GRC, in my opinion. I absolutely love when they take these World Grand Prix characters and just give them completely overhauled looks. Really, really nice job on there. He even has that faded color scheme. I'll save my full thoughts for Raoul's design when I inevitably get his 155 scale diecast, but as a first impression for him, this looks really, really solid in my opinion. And he's also got that really cool blue stripe that we see on some of the racers as well. Max Schnell is really, really great to finally get in mini racer form, and as you'd expect, it is a pretty consistent design. It looks just like his regular release. Looks perfectly fine. Maybe this part is a bit too wide, but the minis often suffer with making that area on the car a bit too wide, just because you gotta sort of squash and stretch the proportions there. But he looks really solid, and I really hope that we get a regular Max Schnell mini. I'm sure we'll get one at some point in the next few years here. As far as the GRC racers go, I think Max is probably my least favorite, and I think that's because he, much like Carla Veloso, who I wasn't really the biggest fan of in my last review, isn't all that different. He's really not all that different from your other Max Schnells. Just looking at my Max Schnells here, he really looks like any of them, like all of them. He especially reminds me of the Carbon Racers Max Schnell here. They are incredibly similar. He does have this different lighter gray color scheme, which makes him stand out, but it also reminds me of the carbon fiber on the Carbon Racers Max. You know, he's got that GRC logo there on the hood, very similar to the WTCL logo that he usually has. Moving on to the sides, we do actually have a completely different pattern here, which is quite nice to see. It's a little similar to the pattern you usually get on this side of Max, but again, much like with Raoul, from a distance or without knowing the character by heart, you might think that it looks identical. But no, they do go and give him a completely separate pattern. I think from the front, Max looks too similar to his normal release, but from the side, they do some good work to make him look a bit different, but they really do just keep those same patterns, and I feel they don't really upgrade him in a way many of the other cars were upgraded for the GRC. They just kind of move where the flag pattern is and call it a day. Although I do like the fact that Max now has this additional gray color, and the black that's part of the flag on his usual color scheme is no longer the primary color. So that is kind of a bold choice to give him a completely separate main color, but it's very close to the color he already had, and is also very close to the Carbon Racer there. He does have these really nice multicolored wheels, much like Francesco, and of course he has the carbon fiber you'd expect from Max, which it's super cool to see that the mini racers molded that carbon fiber into the body. If you run your finger across it, you can feel that it is textured, which is really nice to see. He's got his secondary sponsors, the GRC logo as well, and that hexagon pattern, GRC number 4 on the side of the spoiler. I really like how his spoiler looks. Global Racers Cup logo back there. There is a look at the back, which is completely different from anything we've seen on Max before. This is going to sound so stupid, but I think the back is probably my favorite part, and I love how the side design carries over to the back. I love the continuity in designs that all the GRC cars have, where all the designs carry over. They are all very, very cleverly designed, where even an item like Max, who I think is definitely one of my least favorite there, has those really nice touches and nice details and that great continuity. Easily, my favorite items in the GRC are the ones that feel like a full reinvention of the character, like Raoul and McQueen. Unfortunately, some of them don't do that as well, in my opinion, like Max, Carla, and I think Miguel Camino falls in that camp too, but we'll see how I feel about him when I review his 3-pack. I'm super excited to get all 3 of these items in 1/55 scale form, and when I do, I'll kind of give my definitive final thoughts on the designs, but for now, they all look pretty solid. Raoul is one of my favorite designs in the line. Cruz is a really cool alternative take on her look, and Max, while a bit weaker than a lot of the others, still has nice touches that set him apart, and it's just really nice to have a Max Schnell mini racer, even if it's not the normal one. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye now.